It started on a Thursday night. Rain tapping against the kitchen window, the smell of leftover pasta in the air. I remember every detail because moments that destroy you tend to etch themselves into your memory like scars. She was sitting across from me, holding her coffee with both hands. Her shoulders were tight, eyes distant. I could tell she'd rehearsed whatever she was about to say. "Can we talk?" she asked. The tone wasn't angry, it was almost soft. That scared me more than if she'd been shouting. She took a long breath. "I've been seeing Mark again." The name hit me like static. The one she'd sworn she blocked. I stared at her. She kept going. "It wasn't supposed to happen." "I don't know, I feel alive when I'm with him. Like I used to before everything got so heavy." Before everything got heavy. That was her way of saying before me. Before our mortgage. Before the routine. Before life stopped being fireworks and turned into quiet dinners and bills. I didn't scream. Didn't cry. I just said, "Then go." Her eyes widened. She looked confused, almost offended that I didn't fight for her. But I wasn't going to beg for love that already left. The room, she left 2 days later. Her side of the closet was bare. The faint scent of her shampoo lingered in the bathroom like a ghost that refused to leave. For weeks, I kept expecting to hear her keys in the door, her footsteps down the hall. But it never came. The silence was brutal. Dinner for one. Coffee for one. People talk about heartbreak like it's one big explosion. But it's not. It's slow erosion. You wake up and there's just a little less of you each day. I went through the motions, work, sleep, repeat. But something inside me was numb. Still, I didn't regret telling her to leave. If someone tells you they feel more alive without you, you don't hold them hostage. You set them free, even. If it kills you. 2 months later, I got her first message. "Hey. I hope you're okay." Simple. Empty. Familiar. I didn't reply. A week passed. Another message. "I miss you. I made a mistake." That one I didn't even read to the end. Then the calls started. Late at night. 1:43 a.m. 2:10, sometimes 3 or 4 in a row. At first, I thought she was drunk. But then she left a voicemail. Her voice was shaking. "He's not who I thought he was. I can't do this. I thought it would be like before, but it's worse. I just want to talk to you. Please." I listened on. Then deleted it. A month later, she showed up at my door. Rain again. Just like the night she confessed. Her hair was damp, mascara smudged, eyes red. She looked smaller somehow, like the version of her that left had aged decades in weeks. "I know you don't owe me anything," she said. "But I need to tell you I'm sorry." I let her in. She sat on the same chair where she told me about Mark. Only this time she couldn't even look me in the eye. "I thought I was chasing something real," she whispered. "But it was just nostalgia. He hasn't changed. He used me. And now, I've lost everything." I wanted to feel anger, vindication, something. But all I felt was tired. "I loved you," I said. "But I can't love a ghost who keeps running back to the past." She started to cry quietly. I didn't touch her. I just let her words hang there until they dissolved into silence. Then I opened the door. She hesitated, then stepped out. No dramatic goodbye. Just rain and footsteps fading down the street. It's been almost a year. Sometimes I still see her name light up my phone. I don't answer. I've learned that not every story needs closure. Some just need to end. She made her choice. And I made mine, to finally live for myself. Now when people ask why I'm single, I just smile. Because for the first time in ours, I don't feel dead inside. It had been nearly 8 months since the last time I saw her. Life had finally started to feel stable. I was working out again. I'd reconnected with old friends I'd pushed away during our marriage. Even started seeing someone new, nothing serious yet, but it felt real. Simple. Honest. Then one evening as I was coming home from work, I saw her car parked across the street. For a moment, I thought it was a coincidence. It wasn't. She stepped out just as I reached my door. Her hair was shorter, her face thinner. There was this uneasy mix of hope and guilt in her eyes. "Can we talk?" she asked. I didn't answer. I just opened the door, stood there, waiting for her to say what she came to say. "I've been in therapy," she said, "trying to understand why I ruin everything. I know you moved on, but I needed to see you. To tell you that I still think about you every day." Her voice cracked. I wanted to feel something, anger, nostalgia, maybe pity. But all I felt was distance. The kind of distance that time builds quietly, like layers of dust over something you used to care about. "I'm happy you're working on yourself," I said. "But I'm not the man you left behind. I can't go back there." Her eyes filled with tears, but she nodded. "I know. I just had to say it." She turned to leave, and before getting into her car, she said, almost whispering, "You really did. Love me, right?" Then she drove off. That night, I couldn't sleep. Not because I missed her, but because I finally understood something. We always think closure comes from words, apologies, explanations, long conversations about the past. But real closure comes quietly, when you realize you don't need those things anymore. I walked to the kitchen, poured myself a drink, and looked around. Everything was the same, but it didn't feel haunted anymore. The house was mine again. My life was mine again. And somewhere out there, she was learning that love without respect is just attachment. And attachment without trust always ends in pain. I blocked her number that night. Not out of anger. Out of peace. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do for someone who broke you. Let them live with the echo of what they lost. 3 months passed after I blocked her number. My life became routine again, not empty, but calm. I woke early, made coffee, went to work, came home, read, slept. It sounds boring, but after chaos, peace feels like luxury. The woman I'd started seeing, Emily, was kind. Patient. She never asked too many questions about my past, and I respected her for that. But some nights, when she'd fall asleep next to me, I'd still think of my ex, not with love, but with curiosity. How could someone who swore she loved me throw everything away for a feeling? One evening I found out. A mutual friend mentioned she'd lost her job. Apparently, she'd confronted her ex, Mark, after discovering he'd been seeing someone else. History repeated itself, only this time, I wasn't part of it. That's when I realized I didn't need revenge. Her life had done that on its own. Months later, I got an email. No number, no social media, no direct contact. Just a short, formal message. "I wanted to say thank you. You were right to let me go. I'm learning how to be alone. I hope you're doing well." No begging. No, "I miss you." Just honesty. And for the first time in years, I believed her. I didn't reply. But I smiled. Because maybe, just maybe, she was finally growing up. Sometimes I drive by the old park where we used to walk on Sundays. I don't stop. I just look. It's strange how familiar places can become foreign once love leaves them. I think about everything that happened. The betrayal, the nights without sleep, the empty house, and it doesn't hurt anymore. It feels like watching an old movie you once loved but no longer relate to. People think heartbreak ends when the pain fades. But it truly ends when you stop needing closure from the one who caused it. One night, I wrote her a letter. Not to send, just to write. "You broke me in ways you'll never understand. But in doing so, you forced me to rebuild myself stronger. I don't hate you anymore. I don't miss you. I just hope you find peace. The kind that doesn't come from other people, the kind that starts inside. I folded it, put it in a drawer, and never touched it again. It wasn't for her. It was for me. That a year later, I got married. Not to Emily, we didn't last, but to someone new. Someone quiet, grounded, and real. And on the morning of our wedding, I received a voicemail from an unknown number. Her voice. Older. Softer. I saw the photos. You look happy. I'm glad. I really am. I'll stop calling now. I promise. I deleted the message without listening to the end. Not out of coldness, but acceptance. Because by then, I knew we weren't a tragedy anymore. We were just a chapter that taught me how to love better, live wiser, and never settle for someone who only feels alive when they're why. Date someone else. It had been 2 years since I'd last heard her voice. Life had moved on quietly, new routines, new love, new calm. One afternoon, I stopped by a cafe near my office. As I waited in line, I heard someone say my name. I turned, and there she was. She looked different. Not worse. Just real. No makeup, simple clothes, eyes less restless. For a second, neither of us spoke. Hey, she said softly. Hey, I replied. We ended up sitting outside, talking like old classmates who once shared a life neither of us fully recognized anymore. She told me she'd moved back into her mother's place for a while. Got a new job. Started volunteering. I've been clean for over a year, she added quietly. I didn't ask what she meant, but the trembling in her hands told me enough. When we said goodbye, she smiled, not with hope, but with closure. I'm glad you're okay, she said. You too, I answered. That moment didn't bring pain. It brought peace. Because it was the first time I saw her and didn't feel the weight of what we'd been. A few weeks later, I got a call from one of our old mutual friends. She'd been in a car accident. Nothing fatal, but bad enough to leave her in the hospital. I visited once. Not because I still loved her, but because I finally didn't need to avoid her. When I walked in, she looked fragile, surrounded by white sheets and humming machines. You didn't have to come, she said weakly. I know, I replied. But I wanted to. We talked for an hour. About nothing and everything. When I left, she said, you were always the only one who showed up when it mattered. That hit harder than I expected. Because love had died long ago, but humanity hadn't. A month later, I received a letter. Handwritten, shaky, emotional. You were right about everything. About love, trust, and peace. I don't expect forgiveness, but I hope you know how sorry I am, not for what happened, but for who I was. You were my mirror. You showed me what real love looked like. I just didn't know how to hold it. I read it once, then again. Then I put it away. Because some words deserve to be heard, but not revisited. Years later, I was walking with my daughter, my new life, my real family, through that same park where everything once fell apart. She pointed at the trees and said, "It's peaceful here." And I realized for the first time that it really was. No ghosts. No memories. No ache. Just stillness. I don't know where she is now. Maybe she's found peace too. But I know this. Forgiveness doesn't always mean reconciliation. Sometimes it just means no longer bleeding from the same wound. I looked at my daughter, smiled, and thought, I'm alive. Not because of anyone else. But because I finally learned to be. She said her ex made her feel alive,